All right, we're going live in 2, 1.
Hey.
Hey. All right, we are live. Good morning, those of you joining us from Facebook. If you want to drop in the comments where you're coming from today, whether you're in your home district of where you teach, or if you're out at the lake or enjoying a vacation, that is awesome. And we are so excited you are joining us. Let us know where you're coming from and let us know what you teach. We'd love to know that and be ready to connect with you. We're going to get started here in just about a minute. We're going to make sure everything is working. And we're going to get rocking. We've got a great tour for you today. Craig Fisher is here with us live on video from Sleepy Bison Acres in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. And Craig's wife, Elizabeth Fisher, is actually on the Facebook chat with us this morning. And we are excited. She's going to be able to answer a few of the quick questions that come up. We want you to be able to ask your questions as Craig is speaking. So Craig is going to take us on a tour of his farm in just a little bit, and we want to know what questions you have for the Fishers. Elizabeth will be answering on text, and Craig will be able to answer once he kind of gets done with the topic he is discussing. It looks like we've got 67 eyeballs on here so far. Again, welcome this morning. We want to know where you are tuning in from and what you teach today as we gear up to hear from Craig. Our topic today is going to be farm to fork. So Craig is going to walk us through for the next 40 minutes of what he raises out at his farm in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. And then we're going to be joined by totally lost it, Dave Forrester and his wife, who are going to be tuning in from Sleepy Eye Coffee Company to share about how they utilize local resources for their business. We have a lot. We are going to get started. Thank you so much to everybody who is tuning in. And yes, thank you for all those comments. You know what, Craig? I say we're ready to rock. So everyone, please meet my new friend and awesome agricultural guru, Craig Fisher from Sleepy Eye Bison Acres. Good morning, Craig.
Morning.
All right.
We're
ready for you.
So my wife Elizabeth and I, we own Sleepy Bison Acres. We started this in 2013. We actually we got a bison as a wedding gift from our mentors in Byron, which is close to Rochester. We had been looking into the bison industry for several years, and they wanted to help us get started. So they gifted us one, and with the agreement that we purchase another, because you can't just have one bison alone. They're a herd animal. You want to have at least two. So from there, we purchased a herd bull and 2 younger females, and we've kind of grown it from there. Last year, we hit 45 animals, 45 bison. We also pasture pigs in the woods, and we have free-range egg layers. So we had 35 pigs last year. We have about 115 egg-laying chickens and another 100 chicks, about 6 roosters and 4 guineas. So you may hear a little noise in the background. If the chickens are making some racket, they're laying eggs right now. So just wanted to give you a tour of the operation and kind of give you a feel for what we raise and why we raise it. Neighbor just drove by in the tractor. You got to wave in the country here. So, okay, so why we started raising bison. My family actually has had some heart health history, and bison is one of the meats that the American Heart Association has endorsed for decades as a healthy red meat. it made sense. They're cool. They're athletic. I played college baseball. I appreciate athleticism and the adrenaline rush. So bison were a fit in our mind. It's something different. In the 80s, there was a phrase, you get big or get out. And we kind of did a play on words there. We started saying, get big, get out, or get different. So we chose to get different. So that's kind of the overall view of the farm. And really, we just wanted to know where our food was coming from. And we wanted to really, we wanted to have a better understanding of where the food's coming from, how it's produced, and have a better connection with that food and provide some value for the local community, have a healthy option for the community. So that's why we got started. So I'll give you a little tour of the bison, the chickens, and the pigs. So, sorry, I got my shovel here. I'm figuring this out. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at here. My great grandpa bought this place back in the 50s, I believe. And so I'm 4th generation here. My boys are 5th generation. Elizabeth and I have 3 boys. Yeah, we're just raising the kids out in the country. So we have the bison, all of our animals, they get a locally sourced feed ration, and they also are on pasture. We try and rotate them around on pasture, trying to do a mix of impact and recovery. So I'll get to that in a little bit here. This little area here is where I have been dumping the spent grains from the brewery in Sleepy Eye. And we have a unique relationship with the brewery in Sleepy Eye. We get the spent grains from them, feed it to the bison, and then we end up bringing the bison back after they're harvested to the coffee shop, which shares a location with the brewery. And the coffee shop will make sandwiches and market that meat to consumers through the restaurant. So that's what the spent grains are here. But the chickens think I have treats, so they're all coming up here. I'll show you the latest and greatest. It's an old livestock trailer that we had converted into a mobile chicken coop. So all of the little chicks here, we have about 100 of them. We're trying to train them to go into the mobile chicken coop so that we can keep moving them across the pasture, across the grass, and get them to lay eggs in there, and also spread manure as we move the trailer. So they just roost in here, keeps them safe from any raccoons, possums, skunks, fox, eagles, owls, anything that likes to eat chicken, which is like everything. So yeah, so the chickens, they can free range across the yard. They can go in the pasture, they can go in the woods by the pigs. The bison, they can go out by them. They can go wherever they want. Just as long as it's not the front porch or in the flower bed, we're good with it. So chickens kind of have a free reign of the yard and of the place, and that actually helps contribute to a higher quality egg. If you look at an egg yolk from a farm like ours, the yolk tends to be a lot more orange, and that indicates a nutrient density of that egg. And the nutrient density helps contribute to overall health of the people that are eating it. So the humans that are eating a nutrient dense food like these eggs typically have lower cholesterol. It's actually a good balance of good cholesterol, and really contributes to overall health. So we like our chickens going wherever they be. And there's a guinea right there. That's a guinea right there. So the guineas make a lot of noise, but we really like them because they eat a lot of ticks. So I am going to walk out to the pasture here. I have to climb the fence, keep an eye on the bison while I walk out to the pasture and show you what we're looking for. So the bison are actually up in the in the lot right now. They came up, they're getting some grains, they're getting some hay, and they're just kind of lounging right now. But here's the pasture. We split our pasture up into different paddocks, and trying to do a rest and rotation cycle. I gotta keep my eye on these guys. Some of the younger bulls, older bulls that we have here at home. At home, we have the animals that are going to be harvested next. So we bring the calves back home from the other farm. We have another farm that's about 25 miles to the west that a friend owns. We have our cows and our bulls over there. And when the calves get old enough, they come back home, and then we are able to give them this nice lush green forage salad bar. And we're able to really give them a diverse menu of items to eat. So this here is an alleyway where they can get out the gate from the lot out to the pasture. And this is exactly what we want to do out in the pasture. We want that tall forage right there. We want to take about 50% of it and lay the rest of it down. When we do that, the soil is protected from the sun. It's not drying out. When that soil is protected, then that means that all the microorganisms and the worms and everything beneficial in the soil that helps make healthy soil and nutrient dense food, those are protected as well. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to show you here is a progression. So this alleyway here, the bison have been utilizing for about 5 days. It was about 3 feet tall. And they laid it down. They did a really good job of creating a nice thick mat. It's just like gardening. Same theory. You are trying to create an environment where the plant species that you want can grow and thrive. So out in the pasture here, this is where I opened up for them here 2 days ago. And 2 days ago, that was also 3 feet tall. Yesterday, I let them into this other area here. And you may notice that there's all these weeds out here. What some people call weeds, other people call them forbs. And some of these plants here, some of these forbs, this is poison ivy, well, this is burnweed, I would call it, or burning nettles. You look right here, a bison actually took a bite off of there. So it's getting some nutritional benefit from it, but really these weeds are indicating that there's something that it needs to balance out. Nature is trying to balance itself out. We've been feeding hay out here, trying to build our soil up because we had converted this from row crop land that my dad had farmed back to pasture. And typically it doesn't look good when you plant it back to grass. There's not a whole lot of soil health activity. There's a different balance between most cropland and healthy pasture. And I'm not saying all cropland, but we're trying to regenerate this land, make it better so that the bison have this healthy food to eat, which creates a healthy food item for us too. So,
hey Craig, really
weeds,
quick,
yes.
how much area do they have in each paddock?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We have, our farm site is 12 acres. We have 4 acres for the bison, 4 acres for the pigs in the woods, and 4 acres for us and the chickens. So the bison have 7 different paddocks here. So each one of these larger paddocks, I had walked by a silver wire before, each one of those paddocks is approximately 2/3 of 1 acre. So then this wire right here, I use to create a portable fence. So this wire is electrified. It would hurt, kind of like if somebody hits you in the arm with a hammer. If you touch it, it has a powerful little jolt. So this is about waist high. We're just trying to get something at the nose height of the bison. So we have them split down onto roughly 2/10 of an acre. So this 2/3 of an acre paddock, we're going to divide by 3, split it into 3 different sections. So 2/10 of an acre. Some of the bison are starting to come out here, so I'll have to keep an eye on things here. But yeah, so we split it up, and we're trying to build our soil up. And if we're able to build our soil up, that makes a healthier product for the bison and a healthier product for us.
Craig, I think we lost your video.
Okay.
Carrie, is that accurate? Oh, there he's back.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
We could hear you. We just couldn't see you for a second there.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm going to make my way over this way.
Yeah, and as you're walking, we got a great question from John. He asked that cattle farming can have a higher carbon footprint compared to other livestock. Can you tell us if bison farming has a lower carbon footprint than cattle?
Sorry, I had to slip under a fence there. So in terms of carbon footprint, I'm assuming they're asking, is it beneficial for the environment? Okay, so you can have a positive impact or you can have a negative impact. So bison, basically the Ice Age and the big herds of bison and elk, they built the prairie. They built the black soils that southern Minnesota enjoys. And Iowa, I mean, you had, look at them come up close. Iowa had big herds. They had all kinds of diverse animals. These prairies, these rich soils are built by animals. So, yes, bison have a positive carbon impact, but it does have something to do with management. So any type of animal can be mismanaged and have a poor impact on the environment. So we as land managers are trying to make a positive impact on the environment and a positive impact within our community. So whether that's meat or building up our soil, we can increase the water infiltration, water retention, really make clean water, basically anything. So many of these key environmental question marks, we can address those with proper land management and really make it a benefit.
Yeah, perfect. Since those bison are so close, I have a question from Bridget. She says, I have seen more extensive fencing for bison. Do you have different fencing on the perimeter as you do inside each paddock?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. I'll turn behind me here. So we have 2 lots that have highway guardrail, and that guardrail is spaced out so that the animals can't get out. We have to have one area where if we bring animals in, we need to progressively train them. So we try and train our animals down to 1 wire. So that's what our portable fencing is 1 wire. Yes, it takes time to get them down to that 1 wire, but we can move them from the 3 guardrails out to the pasture, which is a high tensile woven wire fence with a hot wire inside that. And then the fence, I had to slip underneath here, is 3 wires. So we just kind of make a progression from the more fortified fence down to something a little more manageable, down to that 1 wire, which gives us a creative, flexible template.
I love that. And people have been asking about your other pasture, and just really quickly, I was very shocked to see that you had portable fencing in your other pasture. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that other pasture before we get back to the soil?
The one that I just jumped out of, that pasture?
No, sorry, the pasture on the other farm.
Oh, okay. The pasture on the other farm is hilly, and at home we're pretty flat. So it's a lot easier to do the portable fencing on flat ground. You can do it on the hills, but you actually have to be more mindful. You have to use more posts. You have to take into consideration like putting the posts and the wire on a certain side of the hill so the animals see it. You want to put it at the top of the hill instead of towards the bottom of the hill that they put on the brakes, but they can't stop and go through. There's just a few more considerations. But, actually, I hear something in the wind here. This is one of the tools that we use to train the bison to the hot wires. We can hang a pop can on the wire, and that wire is electrocuted. So if they touch that with their nose, they can make that association that that is somewhere that they shouldn't be or shouldn't touch. So that becomes their new fence. So when we first walked in, that is the kind of pasture that we want. We want a nice thick grass pasture with some legumes in it, a very diverse forage for the animals. And this paddock here is a little bit behind soil health wise. We're still trying to build that up. But these weeds are basically showing that we're putting more nutrients on than nature knows what to do with right now. So nature just is building its metabolism up, and the weeds are helping heal that soil so that it can jump to the next level like that last paddock was. So, and then this paddock here, this was grazed about 5 days ago. So I had split this up into 2 different areas. And that we actually took too much of our forage off. Like I said before, we want to shoot for 50%. If we get that 50% mark, there's enough for the microbe herd under the soil as well as our herd above the soil. We have a nice balance of nutrition for both parties. So most people are not aware that you have a herd of microbes under the soil that you also need to feed. In healthy soil, you have the equivalent to 2 elephants per acre that you need to feed just in healthy soil. So I'm going to walk over here, and we're going to take a look at the soil. So if there's any questions.
Yeah, we've got a couple other questions. You might have mentioned this, but just really quickly, how long do you have bison in each paddock?
That really depends. So okay. we need to monitor how much forage we have for the bison, and we need to monitor basically you're balancing supply and demand. How much supply do you have and how much demand do you have? So if you have 10 animals, you can be in a paddock a different time than if you had 100 animals. So you do have to use some math skills to get to that balance. If we had 100 animals on here, we might only be in here for like an hour. If we have our 10 animals on here, we can be on here for a day. So again, it's supply and demand. Yep. So, yeah.
I love it. Another question we had as you're walking to your soil spot is out at Minneopa State Park, they are trying to raise their herd without any cattle DNA. Do you know if your herd is more bison or also has cattle DNA? And actually, if you want to, now would be a great time to talk a little bit about breeds too. I know you did that the other day for me.
Sure. Yeah, there was the known accounts. There was 6 different bison species at one time. Now we have 1 bison species left. There was also 43 different subspecies, and now there's 3 left. So in Minnesota, in the United States, basically it was the plains bison that was the normal. animal that we would see. In Canada, the woods bison were up north. And then in Europe, Russia, actually, there's the European bison. They're also called the wisent. So those are probably the most rare, but basically all of the different subspecies have been hunted to a different extent, and all of them have suffered from hunting, lack of habitat or loss of habitat. And we're just trying to build the animals back. So the American plains bison is the most common in the world. The woods bison is also relatively common, but not quite as much. So our herd bull, Pablo, is actually half woods bison and half plains bison. So a lot of ours are hybrids of the two subspecies. The woods bison are actually 10% bigger. They're taller. Their hump is further forward. They weigh more. So that's one of the weight, we get the value from the bison at the end of the day from the meat. We're marketing the meat. We're selling direct to consumers. We're selling to restaurants, schools. We're doing bulk quarters and halves. That's what ends up paying the bills. So that's why some people would hybridize the woods bison with the plains bison to try and get that bigger animal. So as far as our herd, we don't have it in our budget to test all of the animals that we have, but we have had some of our animals that we have sold tested by other producers, and everything has come back clean of cattle DNA. My personal opinion and opinions from the National Bison Association and the Minnesota Bison Association is that the cattle DNA is a lot less of an issue than what some people believe. And I don't really want to get into it, but it's not as prevalent as you would think, or as some people believe, but it depends who you talk to. But as for us, it's not an issue. So we've bought our animals from reputable herds. Ours trace back to Teddy Roosevelt National Park, Blue Mountain State Park. So
very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's look for some worms.
Okay. So what we try and look for is monitoring our soil health. And one of the easiest ways that we can do so is to look for worms. Worms are a good indicator that there's something there for the microbes to eat, and that there's plenty of moisture in the soil, that our soil is balanced. So I just walked out into the pasture here. We got this, the bison had been in here about a week and a half ago. So this is another 4 or 5 days progressed from the last one. And I just dug up this piece of soil here. So typically about 80% of your soil life is in the top 2 inches. So what we want to look for is that we're doing a good job. So just on this random hit with the shovel, that's manure. Okay, so that's good. We have a good, we're fertilizing the land, putting some nutrients back. And I just flipped this over. There's a worm right there. See, there's another worm right there. There's some manure mixed in with that shovel full. So we can actually count the worms that are in here. And another thing we want to do is we want to smell the soil, see how it smells. If something smells bad, if we crack an egg open in the kitchen and then we smell it and it smells bad, we don't want to eat it, right? It's the same theory with your soil. The animals aren't going to be so inclined to eat something that is grown out of smelly soil. So if you smell it, you don't want an acidic or metallic smell. If so, you know that there's definitely an imbalance. You actually want your soil to be nice and crumbly. It's kind of like chocolate cake. So you want different texture. You want roots in there. So what that does is it allows the water to penetrate through the soil. There you can see the crumbles. You want that water to penetrate through the soil, and you want different pore spaces in there. So oxygen is actually in the soil. When soil gets compacted, when something drives over it heavy, or you are grazing an area for too long, animals walk around right after a big rainstorm for too long, then it becomes compacted. You start having issues. Your soil life can't function, your nutrient cycle gets broken, your water cycle, your water can't penetrate. So if you see after a big rain event and there's water sitting in the field, that's what's going on. Your water can't get down. There's not enough pore space in that soil for your water to get down. And your nutrients are probably having an issue, a problem getting into that plant that you're trying to produce. So we can just shred this apart and look for different worms. So we can do a worm count, and based off that worm count, we can determine how we're doing with our grazing. So just wanted to show you that. I'll flop that back in here, put my soil and manure back so that the worms are protected. Sun is coming out here this morning, so that's what we want.
Excellent. And I just have to give a quick shout out. Elizabeth is firing answers back so quickly. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for helping us out. Craig has so much to share today, you guys, that I wanted to make sure all of your questions got answered, and yet we still got to see everything on the farm. So Craig, as you are moving here, oh, you know what? I had to exit out of the video. I lost the question I wanted. Sam has asked, when you started the pastures, did you source organic fertilizers? And I believe Elizabeth answered it with, we let the animals condition the land. I didn't know if you had anything else to add to that.
Yeah, okay, so we don't use any synthetic chemicals, fertilizers. Really, we're working with nature. We're trying to work with nature to build it back up. So we're rolling hay out on the pasture, and we're using the animals to build that soil back up. So we're controlling the impact that they have on the land, and thus we're able to build our soil up. So when I dug down into the soil and I found that little manure pat, that's our fertilizer program. So we're bringing hay in. The hay has nutrients, it has nitrogen, it has phosphorus, it has anything that you really want. The bison, their manure increases organic matter on the soil, it increases the nitrogen that the plants need to grow green and healthy. And then the urine from the bison is actually highly beneficial. It's water and urea, which urea is one of the mainstays of the commodity crop program. So we really try and work with nature to build it up, and we avoid any unnecessary inputs as much as we can. So I hope I answered that.
Yeah, excellent. All right, let's head to those piggies. I do want to give you a 7-minute warning. So we have 7 minutes left of the tour on your farm, and I see Dave has joined us. So Dave from Sleepy Eye Coffee Company will be joining us here in about 7 minutes. So yeah, let's keep her rolling. Questions, ladies and gentlemen, keep them coming. We're ready for you.
This is the exterior of the bison pasture. So we have a hot wire at 6 feet, and then the high tensile woven wire fence is not electrocuted, but we have another hot wire that's inset just off the fence. So the animals can actually hit this and bounce off of it. It's plenty sturdy to keep the animals in. So that's our big safety net. You want to make sure with any animal that you have a proper exterior fence, because if these animals do not stay in to your interior fence, as long as you can contain them in the exterior, you're okay. You can bring them back in, you can retrain them, you can do what you have to as long as they stay in the exterior. So with the pigs, This is one of the paddocks that we moved them out of 2 days ago, right before the rainstorm or during the rainstorm, and we moved them into this one. So this one here, they were in here, or they've been in here for 2 days now, and they have just turned this over and made it nice and black. They like it a little black, but this is how it started out. Lots of plants growing. Lots of plants growing out here, and I was actually looking for the pigs, wondering where they are. But, this is what it looked like before. It took them 2 days to work that down. Again, it's supply and demand. We're trying to balance how many days the pigs are in this paddock. They have a constant feeder. They have old calf huts from dairy operation, which was my grandparents. That becomes their barn. Our pigs do not grow in a barn when they get here. They live outside, they eat outside. We're trying to regenerate our woods by using pigs. So they're out on the edge of the paddock there, they're checking things out. And they will pile some brush on the wire. So every now and then we gotta check our fence out, make sure that there's not a bunch of branches on the wire, that the wire is down. It's the same fencing system as we use for the bison. We train the pigs down to 1 hot wire. So the pigs are coming over here, checking out what's going on. And if that pig touches that wire, it will get shocked and it will probably squeal kind of loud. So pigs are curious animals, just like the bison, and that can be used to your advantage if you know how to use it properly. That pig is getting awfully close. Oh, there we go. That was a pig getting shocked. So again, we just try and train the animals to a portable fencing system so that we can change our needs as nature is changing too. So, do we have time yet?
You know, we're down to 3 minutes. What breed are those pigs again?
Okay, so we pretty well focus on heritage breeds of pigs. They like to forage more. They like to exercise a lot more, so their muscle composition is much better. We find that they're a little hardier, and we have done the confinement pigs before, but we really like the heritage pigs. So the red ones there, those are Durocs. Those are typically one of the high-end breeds in terms of customer perception. We got a Hampshire pig right there and an old spot, and that was a Duroc right there.
And again, from when you get your pigs to when they go for processing, how does that work for you on the farm?
When we get them in, we have to train them. So we'll actually use the bison lot to train the pigs, and we train them to the hot wire. They've never seen a hot wire when they come in. Before they go out into the woods, they need to understand that that is their new perimeter fence. So as we go through the woods, we go through in about a 1/4 acre at a time. We'll make a fence line through the woods out to the exterior, and we'll hook onto that electric fence out there. And the pigs are in here from anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, depending on their age and how many we have. So we have 35 pigs again here this year. And when they're little, they can be out a little more. When they're bigger, we have to move them faster because their demand is a lot higher.
And how long are they on your farm for?
We got this batch in April, and the last of these will go out in October.
And this is a great segue. We've got about 1 minute left. Craig, first off, I just want to thank you and Elizabeth so much for taking us out on your farm and showing us everything you do. But obviously, tell us a little bit what happens to your bison meat and your pork.
Right. So we have a website that we started up here before COVID had hit, actually. So people can order our bison meat, our pork through our website. They can come to the Mankato Farmers Market and see us there and order there. And then we were working with 7 different restaurants and talking with a few different schools before COVID hit. And that kind of went to a standstill. So we really doubled down on the direct to consumer part of it. We have had some restaurants that are still going, but it's kind of a fraction of what it was. So we've really enjoyed, since we doubled down with the consumers, we've really enjoyed building different relationships with different people and trying to build that camaraderie, that loyalty, that value that we can promote.
I love it. And Elizabeth, I was just about to say, we are going to put your website, and we will still, on the Facebook page, so anybody can go check them out. They are on Facebook as well. But Elizabeth just popped your link right in there. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Craig. I am going to transition over to Dave, and feel free to stay on, but we're going to sign off if you're good with that.
All right, cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Oops. All right, Dave, I am ready for your video feed. You want to go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, we can see you guys. All right, we're ready. How are you guys this morning?
Great. So I've got Samara with me, my wife, and she runs the kitchen and comes up with the recipes and was really the instigator here to get us started as we were developing our menu at Sleepy Eye Coffee before we opened last summer, to find what we could locally as much as possible. And that led us to Craig. We kind of just serendipitously fell into just the right area for him to work with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, perfect. Tell us, let's start with the operation. Tell us what Sleepy Eye Coffee Company is new. And so tell us a little bit about that. And then we want to know, it's Samara, right?
Yep.
Samara, we want to know how you are using local foods within your operation there in the kitchen.
Okay. Well, so the coffee shop, we're located inside of an old movie theater, and we share the space with the brewery. So we kind of the relationship, we try to use each other's products as much as we can. Like I am right now using their beer to braise a roast that Craig dropped off yesterday. So
I love it.
It's sitting in the oven right now. We're gonna make like a pulled bison Asian street taco. So it's gonna be pretty yummy.
All right, I'll be there for lunch.
Oh yeah. So we use like as many local products as we can, like hyper local. We use obviously Craig's bison and pork. We use eggs from Seifert.
Yeah, Seifert Poultry.
And then we have 2 different apiaries that we buy our honey from. And I use honey for so many things, like boiling bagels to making honey butter to baste our sandwiches in and things like that. And in our coffee drinks too. We buy our milk from the grocery store down the street. We buy our cheese from the butcher shop that's literally right across the alley. And then as far as like Minnesota grown, we buy all of our chai from Grey Duck Chai. They're located in the Twin Cities. And then we have our sauces, like all of our, the sauces we use on our sandwiches are from a place called Freak Flag Foods in St. Paul. So yeah, we try to get as much as we can locally, and all of the bread is made in-house from scratch.
Yeah, it can be a challenge being in a small town about 2 hours from the Twin Cities to get ingredients. There are some routes that don't come through here, but if a little extra work, we find that it's worth it, even if it's not quite as easy as it would be otherwise. So we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. We started in October of last year, and it's just beat everybody's expectations. I mean, we were confident that this was going to work well here, but just the quality of what we're putting out, and reusing an old building in a small town that people really loved and wanted to see reused, along with the menu and just the local connections with the ingredients that we can use goes a long way.
That's awesome. Heidi and Lynn are enjoying a cup of coffee from Sleepy Eye Coffee Company right now.
Cheers.
Right.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, the first 60 registrants of our Minnesota Summer Teacher Tour, we were able to score them some Sleepy Eye Coffee Company coffee that got delivered in their ag bags. So those of you who signed up right away, we are excited that you've got that coffee and enjoy it. Dave and Samara, what would you say, what is, so many times we see small businesses using more local resources. Why is that important to our communities? And why is that important? Why is that something that is important to the business of Sleepy Eye Coffee Company?
Well, for me, the biggest thing is it's supporting other people's livelihood, so one of the challenges of living in a smaller town or in a rural community is finding employment and drawing people here and giving them a place to work. So if we can support, the growers and the other people who are trying to make a go of it, that's a huge benefit, aside from, the quality and having the freshness that maybe Samara can talk to it. When we got the eggs from the free range grower, who's also a veteran, by the way, he was just activated. He came back from the Twin Cities, and 2 days later, he dropped off some eggs for us. So it's just having that strong connection. And the eggs were just like twice the size of what we were getting. It was the size
of my hand.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Granted, I have small hands, but
And how many doubles are you getting?
Like the twins, I'll crack them open and it'll be twins every time. So
the other day he actually harvested them that morning from the coop and brought them to our shop that morning.
Yeah. It's all about giving people something that they can't buy. There's a Subway down the road and, we eat there all the time, but it's about making a product that's different and something they can't get somewhere else. They can't get in Sleepy Eye, that they would have to travel for. And a lot of people will say when they walk into the building too, like, this is something that you would expect to see in the cities. It's different. And that's kind of what we wanted to go for. And I know the Armbroosters, the owners of the coffee shop in the building, they really wanted to, it was important to them to really revitalize Main Street and make it look like, give it a facelift, give people a reason to stop. Like, there has to be a reason for cars to want to stop on Main Street and, fill it up again, make foot traffic happen again. And I think by really supporting our community that way and supporting the local farmers and all of that sort of thing. And I mean, even local businesses, our aprons were embroidered by a local lady. Yeah. So, and our mugs, we have these really great hand spun mugs from Deneen Pottery in St. Paul.
And Craig's people, hopefully we help spread the word about his product too. We have 4th of July Bison burger kits that we're going to be selling here.
Yes.
Same thing for Memorial Day. So people are starting to kind of,
they go crazy for that bison. They love it.
They do. So tell me a little bit about that. I know during COVID, we saw that you guys had some takeout where you could like make and take. Are you continuing to do that? And then I'd also love to know, I mean, are your doors open? We've got a lot of people on here who are saying, if you're ever near Sleepy Eye, you got to stop in, What's the situation like right now?
Yeah, we're open. And we are taking reservations. It makes it easier to make sure you can get a table, but we've never been at capacity yet. But I'm sure it'll get there soon. Business is definitely ramping up a little bit. But during the shutdown, I was actually doing way more work than typical, because usually our business is, like 50% coffee, 50% food. But we were having a lot less people coming in to buy like coffee drinks, and a lot more people calling and saying, hey, can I send 125 cheesecakes to the hospital? Or I'd like to supply my entire company. Like that was 114 family-sized dinners. I want to treat my whole company to dinner tonight.
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps. That's amazing.
So it was pretty brutal for a couple of weeks, like trying to get all that food out, but it was great at the same time. You know, like we had some really great big orders, like big business, even though we didn't have foot traffic coming in. It was really great to see all of the support locally again. Like people really wanted to support us, and then like the people got really excited about those grilling kits because you know, like you said, they love Craig's bison meat, and you know, you give them something like it included you know, the fresh patties that I season, and then fresh bread to serve the burgers on, chips, and all of the fixings like bacon and all the sauces, and you know, lettuce and tomatoes, and then 2 pounds of homemade mac and cheese, and can't beat that. So
can't beat it. And it's still available. Are you saying it's available for 4th of July? What's the situation? How do we get that?
Yeah, you can order it online. I've got 25 of them left. So
you do have to come to Sleepy Eye to pick it up though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't mail it. But yeah, they're gonna go fast for sure.
All right. Well, perfect. Is there anything else you guys would love to add? We are right on time, and we just want to thank you guys so much for sharing. I love this farm to fork opportunity that's right here in southern Minnesota, and we just thank you guys for everything you're doing too.
Thank you, and thanks for everything everybody else does out there to spread the word. And we're just excited to be, hopefully this, you know, continues to grow in other towns and rural areas and in the cities as well.
Yeah, I love that. Give inspiration for other towns to continue bringing people back to what every town is unique and has something to offer. And I love that. Well, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to give about a 10-second pause here before I shut off the live video. A lot of times it'll cut off on its own, but thank you guys so much. And I'll be swinging in and seeing your faces soon.
Thanks.